It was supposed to be the ultimate PR-managed aesthetic, a polished, curated glimpse into the life of the world's most famous preteen. But in the last 24 hours, the Kardashian Iron Curtain hasn't just cracked, it has completely shattered. What if I told you that a single, frantic, deleted within seconds video has sent the entire Calabasas empire into a total tailspin? We're not talking about a silly dance or a harmless prank this time. North West just went rogue, and the words that came out of her mouth have left the internet paralyzed. Was it a cry for help, or a calculated strike from a child who has finally seen too much? As the clips spread like wildfire, one man wasn't just watching. He was losing his absolute mind. Kanye West is back on the warpath, and this time, he's claiming he has the receipts to prove everything he's been shouting from the rooftops for years. Is Kim Kardashian finally facing a scandal she can't edit her way out of? The cameras were supposed to be off, the mics were supposed to be muted, but North just hit record. And the truth she just exposed is darker, messier, and more expensive than anyone ever imagined. Buckle up, because the house of cards is falling. It started with a glitch, or at least, that is what the crisis management team wanted you to believe. For years, the world has watched North West grow up through a screen, a child who seemed to be the perfect fusion of her mother's branding genius and her father's unpredictable fire. But the video that surfaced last night wasn't part of the schedule. It wasn't a sponsored post for a new clothing line, and it certainly wasn't a choreographed dance routine. It was raw, it was shaky, and it was devastatingly real. In the background of what looked like a chaotic dressing room, North wasn't playing a character. She was looking directly into the lens, whispering words that felt like a grenade being tossed into the center of the Kardashian-Jenner billion-dollar machine. She spoke about the silence behind the scenes, the contracts that even a child is forced to understand, and the fact that her every move is monitored not by a parent, but by a board of directors. The internet didn't just react, it imploded. Because for the first time, we weren't seeing the North West that Kim Kardashian wants us to see. We were seeing a girl who is clearly tired of being a walking, talking billboard for a lifestyle that feels more like a prison than a privilege. To understand why this specific moment sent Kanye West into a literal atmosphere-altering rage, you have to look at the history of the bad blood that has been boiling under the surface. We all remember the public meltdowns, the deleted tweets, and the frantic Instagram captions where Kanye warned us that his daughter was being exploited. At the time, the world laughed. They called him unstable. They said he was just a bitter ex-husband trying to sabotage Kim's success. But as this new footage proves, maybe the man everyone called crazy was actually the only one telling the truth. The leaked reports coming out of the inner circle suggest that Kanye didn't just see the video, he had a physical reaction to it. Sources close to the rapper say he was screaming about the industry finally swallowing his firstborn. He wasn't just losing his mind. He was losing his patience with a system that treats children like assets on a balance sheet. The scandal isn't just about what North said. It's about the fact that she felt she had to say it to the world because no one was listening to her at home. The fallout started almost instantly. Within hours of the video's brief appearance online, the Kardashian legal team was moving faster than a luxury jet. But you can't sue the internet into forgetting what it saw. The investigative findings, which are currently being passed around in the dark corners of the web, suggest that this wasn't an isolated incident. There are claims of performance bonuses given to the children for hitting certain engagement metrics. Imagine that for a second. Imagine your childhood being tied to a click-through rate. Anonymous sources, who claim to be former staff members of the estate, are coming forward with stories that sound more like a dystopian novel than a reality show. They talk about content days where the children are dressed, styled, and directed for hours on end, sometimes missing school or social events just to ensure the grid stays aesthetic. One source claimed that North has a private folder on her phone filled with evidence of the times she was told to act happy for the camera when she was actually crying. If even half of this is true, then we are looking at the biggest child labor scandal in the history of social media. The public reaction has been a brutal mix of "I told you so" and genuine horror. People are digging up old clips where North looked visibly uncomfortable, moments where she covered her face from the paparazzi while her mother stood there posing, ensuring the light hit her face just right. The sarcasm online is reaching a breaking point, with people questioning if the Kimberly brand is built on the backs of her own children's privacy. Every time Kim posts a picture of her perfect family now, the comments are flooded with questions about the dressing room video and the secret contracts. The irony is thick enough to choke on. Here is a woman who is studying to be a lawyer, yet her own daughter is seemingly acting as the chief witness in the case against her own upbringing. It's a level of controversy that even the most seasoned PR experts can't spin. You can't put a filter on a child's genuine distress. As the pressure builds, the spending habits of the family are also coming under fire. New investigative leaks suggest that the money North generates through her social media presence isn't sitting in a protected trust fund like most people assumed. Instead, there are whispers of management fees and production costs that eat away at the millions she brings in. People are calling it a modern-day form of corruption within the entertainment industry. Why is a 12-year-old's image being used to fund a lifestyle she didn't choose? The luxury cars, the private islands, the diamond-encrusted everything. How much of that is paid for by the loss of a normal childhood? The exaggeration of their wealth has always been their greatest weapon, but now it's becoming their greatest liability. Because if that wealth is built on the exploitation of a minor, the public isn't going to stand by and applaud anymore. They are going to demand an audit of the soul, not just the bank account. Kanye's response has been a series of scorched earth moves that have the legal world shaking. He isn't just venting on social media this time. He is reportedly hiring a team of private investigators to look into the entertainment industrial complex that his children are trapped in. The reports say he is prepared to spend every last cent he has to deprogram the Kardashian influence from North's life. The tension is so high that even the usual celebrity gossip outlets are afraid to report the full extent of the threats being thrown back and forth. It's a war of ideologies. On one side, you have the queen of content who believes that visibility is power. On the other, you have a father who believes that visibility is a curse. And caught in the middle is North, who just accidentally showed the world that the perfect life is actually a high-definition nightmare. The most shocking part of the leaked findings involves a private script that was allegedly found in North's room. It wasn't for a movie or a TV show. It was a list of talking points for her next casual live stream. The script included instructions on how to mention her mother's new skincare line and how to act relatable to her audience. When this news hit the forums, the backlash was instantaneous. People started calling for a total boycott of the family's brands. If it's not real, we don't want it, became the mantra. The abuse of power here isn't physical, it's psychological. It's the constant pressure to be a brand before you are a person. And Northwest, by accidentally or intentionally leaking her true feelings, has become the ultimate whistleblower of her own life. She has exposed the fact that in the world of the ultra-famous, there is no such thing as a private moment. Everything is for sale, and everyone has a price, even your own daughter. But as the world waits for the next move, the legal fallout is already beginning to take shape. Government agencies are being tagged in every post, with people demanding a Northwest law that protects children of influencers from being used as content. The financial crisis within the Kardashian empire might not be about a lack of money, but a lack of trust. Advertisers are reportedly getting nervous. Who wants to be associated with a brand that is currently being accused of psychological exploitation by its own heir? The probes are starting, the questions are getting harder, and for the first time in 20 years, the silence from the Kardashian camp is deafening. They don't have an answer for this because you can't rewrite the truth when it's being told by the person who lived it. The stage is set for a confrontation that will change the face of celebrity forever, and it all started with a girl, a phone, and a truth that was never meant to be heard. However, as the legal threats mount and the public turns its back, a new revelation is about to emerge from the inner circle that will make the dressing room video look like a minor misunderstanding. The revelation coming out of the shadows wasn't just a rumor. It was a digital blueprint of a life designed by a committee. If part 1 was about the crack in the armor, part 2 is where the entire fortress begins to crumble under the weight of its own secrets. The internal memos that have allegedly been leaked from the Kardashian communications department suggest that the rogue video North posted wasn't just a mistake. It was the result of a system pushed to its absolute limit. Imagine being 12 years old and realizing that your personality has been focus grouped. We are talking about a level of calculated manipulation that makes corporate espionage look like child's play. Investigative insiders are now pointing toward a master content calendar that reportedly dictates every spontaneous moment in the West Kardashian household for the next 18 months. Every birthday wish, every candid laugh, every unfiltered opinion was allegedly scheduled between a 2 p.m. wardrobe fitting and a 4 p.m. brand meeting. When North looked into that camera and whispered her truth, she wasn't just breaking a rule, she was breaking a multi-million-dollar contract. The public reaction to these leaked schedules has been a hurricane of sarcasm and genuine disgust. People are calling it the Truman Show on steroids, but with better lighting and more expensive skincare. The irony of Kim Kardashian's "work harder" mantra is now being turned against her, with the internet asking if she's applying that same relentless work ethic to her children's childhoods. Are they kids, or are they junior employees in the business of being famous? The fallout has reached a fever pitch as anonymous whistleblowers, people who claim to have worked in the high-security content bunkers of the Calabasas mansion, are describing a reality that is nothing short of chilling. They describe retake sessions where a child is told to re-record a funny moment because the lighting didn't capture the product placement in the background. If a child doesn't look on brand enough, the cameras don't stop, they just adjust the script. This isn't parenting, it's production. And Kanye West is currently the lead prosecutor in the court of public opinion. Kanye's losing it phase has now evolved into something much more dangerous for the Kardashian brand, a crusade for digital soul searching. Reports are circulating that Kanye has been calling industry executives, threatening to expose every non-disclosure agreement, NDA, that has been used to keep the children's work conditions a secret. He's not just shouting into the void anymore. He's reportedly building a legal case that could redefine parental rights in the age of the influencer. Sources say he's obsessed with the idea of The Vault, a legendary collection of raw, unedited footage that shows the moments before the cameras start rolling. The moments where the smiles fade, the exhaustion sets in, and the kids ask when they can finally take the makeup off. If Kanye gets his hands on that footage and releases it, it won't just be a scandal, it will be a cultural execution. The exaggeration of the Kardashian perfection has always relied on the silence of those around them. But North just handed her father the megaphone. But let's talk about the money, because in this world, everything comes down to the bottom line. New investigative findings suggest a massive discrepancy in how the Northwest brand revenue is being handled. While the public is led to believe that North is just having fun on TikTok, the back-end analytics tell a different story. We are talking about millions of dollars in indirect revenue, brand deals that are contingent on family appearances, documentary-style shows that need a relatable daughter arc to keep the ratings high, and social media metrics that drive the stock prices of the family's various companies. Critics are now asking, is Northwest the most successful CEO under the age of 13, or is she the most exploited asset in Hollywood? The corruption isn't just about the money being spent. It's about the transparency of where it's coming from. If the lifestyle is funded by the commodification of a minor's privacy, then the entire empire is built on a moral sinkhole. As the government probes begin to loom, the House of Kim is reportedly in a state of high alert panic. There are whispers of emergency meetings with top-tier crisis handlers where the main topic isn't, how do we fix this, but who can we blame? The sarcasm from the public is biting, with memes suggesting that Kim's next lawyer move will be trying to sue her own DNA for being too much like Kanye's. But behind the jokes is a very real financial crisis. Major sponsors, the ones who pay the big checks for that wholesome yet high-fashion family image, are starting to pull back. They don't want their logos next to a child who is whispering about being trapped. The resignation of several high-level PR staffers in the last 48 hours only adds fuel to the fire. They are jumping ship because they know that when the truth about the dressing room video fully comes out, there won't be enough lifeboats for everyone. The most exaggerated, yet strangely believable, reports involve a secret room in the mansion dedicated entirely to monitoring the children's social media sentiment in real time. Imagine a wall of screens tracking a 12-year-old's likability score. Every time North does something edgy, the score goes up and the investors are happy. Every time she shows a hint of actual vulnerability or rebellion, the crisis team is deployed. This is the abuse of power we are talking about, the systematic stripping away of a child's right to be messy, to be private, and to be unoptimized. The anonymous sources claim that North discovered this monitoring hub, and that was the real trigger for her recent outbursts. She realized she wasn't just being watched by fans. She was being analyzed like a stock option by her own management team. Kanye's reaction to this specific detail has been described as biblical. He is reportedly comparing the situation to a modern-day Babylon, where the youth are sacrificed at the altar of the algorithm. Whether you think Kanye is a genius or a madman, you have to admit that his timing is impeccable. He is positioning himself as the only person who can save North from the simulation. This has created a massive divide in the public. One half sees a father finally standing up for his daughter's soul, while the other half sees a man using a family crisis to fuel his own narrative of being a martyr. But regardless of his motives, the facts remain. The curtain has been pulled back, and what's behind it isn't pretty. The lavish spending on privacy was clearly just spending on better ways to hide the truth. The fallout is now moving into the realm of legal probes. There are calls for an independent investigation into the Kardashian Trust to see if the labor laws regarding child performers are being bypassed because the performances are happening on social media rather than a movie set. This is a loophole that the family has allegedly exploited for a decade, but North's exposure video has closed that gap. The authorities are being pressured to look into the psychological toll of 24/7 surveillance. If the court decides that this environment constitutes an unsafe workplace for a minor, the consequences will be seismic. We are talking about the potential for forced restructuring of the family's business model, or worse, a total loss of brand identity. But the most chilling part of this escalation is the silence from North herself since the video was deleted. The unfiltered posts have stopped. The bold personality has vanished from the grid. In its place is a series of clearly managed, professional photos that feel like a hostage video dressed in couture. The public isn't buying it. The comment sections are a war zone of people demanding to free North and asking why she's suddenly being kept under lock and key. The more the family tries to return to business as usual, the more guilty they look. They are trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, but the tube has exploded. And as the tension between Kim's curation and Kanye's chaos reaches a breaking point, a new piece of evidence is about to surface. A recorded phone call that will prove once and for all that the dressing room video was only the beginning of a much larger, much more dangerous plan. The recorded phone call that is now allegedly circulating among high-level media executives is being described as the smoking gun that could end the Kardashian era of influence forever. If part 2 was about the crumbling fortress, part 3 is the total structural collapse where the secrets buried under the foundation are finally pushed into the light of day. This leaked audio, which anonymous sources claim features a heated exchange between Kim and a top-tier brand consultant, allegedly reveals the family's plan to rebrand North's rebellion into a new product line. Think about the level of cynicism required to hear your daughter's cry for help and immediately wonder how to sell it as an edgy new aesthetic. The investigative findings suggest that the plan was to turn North's genuine distress into a coming-of-age documentary series, effectively turning her mental health and family trauma into a subscription-based experience. When the public caught wind of this possibility, the sarcasm turned into a roar of pure outrage. People aren't just mocking the family anymore. They are calling for a total systemic dismantle of the fame-at-all-costs culture. The fallout from this latest leak has sent the Kardashian financial empire into a tailspin that no amount of shapewear or lipstick can fix. We are seeing a literal financial crisis within the inner circle as loyalty becomes a luxury they can no longer afford. Reports of mass resignations from the family's personal staff are flooding in, with former bodyguards and assistants claiming they can no longer participate in the psychological theater required to maintain the image. One leaked report describes a scene where North allegedly refused to enter a photo shoot, leading to a lockdown of the property until she complied with the brand's requirements. This isn't just a bad reputation. This is a potential human rights probe waiting to happen. The abuse of power has moved from the boardroom to the bedroom. and the world is finally saying enough. The lavish spending that once signaled success is now being viewed as the blood money of a stolen childhood, and the public is demanding an audit of every cent generated by the West children. Kanye West's reaction to the rebranding rumor has been nothing short of a total declaration of war. He has reportedly stopped communicating through lawyers and has started reaching out directly to the heads of major tech platforms, demanding that his children's digital footprints be erased until they reach the age of consent. Sources say Kanye is losing it in the most calculated way possible by documenting every single contradiction in the Kardashian parenting narrative and preparing a master file for the government investigators. He is no longer just a rapper or a designer. In his mind, he is the leader of a resistance against the digital commodification of the soul. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a diamond-encrusted credit card. While Kim's team tries to portray him as an unstable antagonist, the public is starting to see him as the only person willing to burn the whole thing down to save the kids. The escalation is no longer a celebrity feud. It is a battle for the legal definition of what it means to be a parent in the age of the algorithm. Meanwhile, the leaked findings regarding the family's tax structures and the Northwest Trust are causing a massive stir in the financial world. Anonymous whistleblowers suggest that the money isn't just being used for management fees, but is being cycled through various offshore accounts to fund the family's massive expansion into new markets. If true, this is corruption on a global scale, using the image of a child to bypass labor laws and tax regulations. The investigative probes are no longer just about social media posts. They are about potential financial crimes. The irony is that the more Kim tries to flex her luxury lifestyle to show she's unbothered, the more she provides evidence for the investigators who are asking where that money really came from. The public is watching the Great Kardashian Recession happen in real time, and the sarcasm is dripping off every tweet as people joke about schemes becoming scams. The hypothetical resignations and the looming probes have turned the Calabasas mansion into a high-security bunker. But the real shock is what's happening to the audience. For the first time in 2 decades, the Kardashian likability score has dropped into the negatives. People are tired of the scripts, tired of the retakes, and tired of seeing a 12-year-old being used as a shield against criticism. The Northwest law is gaining massive traction in the real world, with politicians actually mentioning the dressing room video in discussions about child safety online. This is the ultimate fallout. The family that built their fortune on influencing the culture is now being culturally canceled by the very people they sought to control. The abuse of power has reached its expiration date, and the consequences aren't just legal. They are existential. Without the public's attention, the empire doesn't just shrink, it disappears. As we reach the final act of this investigative deep dive, the most shocking revelation of all is starting to surface. It's not a video, and it's not a phone call. It's a realization. The reason Northwest's exposure hit so hard is that she showed us the one thing the Kardashians couldn't fake: reality. She proved that you can buy the best lighting, the best editors, and the best lawyers, but you can't buy the silence of a child who has found her own voice. The final twist is that North isn't just a victim of the system. She is the one who is going to break it. By refusing to follow the script, she has exposed the fact that the entire celebrity industry is built on a foundation of sand. The Kanye West loses it narrative was just a distraction from the real story, that the next generation is no longer willing to be sold. The fallout is only getting more serious. We are hearing whispers of a mass exodus of brand partners in the coming weeks. The financial crisis is moving from the family to the entire industry that supported them. If the Kardashian model of parenting and branding is declared toxic, what happens to the thousands of other influencers doing the same thing? Northwest hasn't just exposed her mom. She has exposed an entire global economy built on the exploitation of the private life. The probes will continue, the legal actions will mount, and the public backlash will only grow louder. But at the end of the day, the biggest question remains. Once the cameras are finally turned off and the content stops, who are these people when they are alone in the dark? The answer is something we may never fully know, and that is exactly the point. The truth that North exposed is that the version of her family we were sold never existed. It was all a lavish, expensive, highly produced lie. And as the situation reaches its peak, the silence from the Kardashian camp is no longer a PR strategy. It's a sign of total defeat. They have run out of ways to spin the narrative because the narrative has been hijacked by the truth. The empire is in ruins, the investigations are closing in, and the world is finally waking up from the Kardashian dream. The stage is set for the most dramatic conclusion in the history of pop culture, and it's all happening because one girl decided to tell the world what was really going on behind the scenes. The Northwest era has begun, but not in the way her mother intended. It's an era of accountability, transparency, and the end of the perfect fake life. Which brings us to the most uncomfortable part of this entire scandal. While we watch the fallout and analyze the consequences, we have to ask ourselves, how much of this did we encourage by clicking, liking, and subscribing for all those years? The corruption isn't just in the family, it's in the system that rewards it. But as Northwest steps out of the shadow of the brand and into her own light, she is giving us all a chance to look at what we've been consuming. The house of cards has fallen, the Iron Curtain is gone, and the investigative truth is finally out. The question now is, what happens when the next viral moment hits? Will we look for the script, or will we look for the person? The answer to that question will define the future of fame. And if this situation has taught us anything, it's that the truth is always more shocking than the content. The end of the Kimmy drama isn't a headline, it's a revolution. Stay locked in, because as this scandal evolves into a full-scale industry collapse, we are the ones who will decide what's real and what's just another performance. This is a collapse that no PR agency can spin and no lawyer can redact. We have spent years watching the most curated family on earth, but today, the curtain didn't just move. It was ripped down by the very child they tried to turn into a brand. Now that you've seen the patterns, heard the leaked audio, and witnessed the absolute fallout within the West Kardashian empire, the question isn't about what North said. It's about what we do next. Is this the final wake-up call for an industry that treats children as content assets? Or will we just wait for the next edited apology? Do you believe Kim Kardashian is truly a mother in crisis trying to protect her child? Or is she just a CEO trying to protect her stock price? And what about Kanye? Is he the visionary protector he claims to be? Or is he just as guilty of using this drama for his own narrative? I want to hear your honest, unfiltered thoughts in the comments. Is the Kardashian era officially over? If you believe North deserves her privacy back, hit that like button and share this to spread the truth. Subscribe and turn on those notifications now, because this investigation is moving faster than the headlines can keep up with. Stay tuned, because when the cameras finally stop rolling, that's when the Real story begins.